Hello, and welcome to the Fed by Farmers podcast with me, Cammy Wilson.
And me, Iona Murray.
She's back.
I'm back.
She's back. I'm almost emotional.
Are you, Cammy?
Yeah, I was welling up earlier when I seen you come through the door because it's been a tough month.
Has it?
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, Iona is now going to be like, if Lizzie's my right arm, Iona's going to be my left arm. She's going to do the whole sheep game side of things and the merch and all the things that come with that, which is becoming this big business now as well. Thanks to you guys, of course. And you're also going to do this podcast.
Yep.
Which is actually what these guys are most interested in. And where have you been?
Thailand.
Amazing. What was it like?
So good. I had the best time.
Yeah. Tell me one thing you did.
Did a Thai cooking class.
Wow. That just sounds amazing, Iona.
It was.
Yeah. What did you make?
I won. Best spring roll.
Oh, best spring roll?
Yeah.
Oh, some lass.
I know.
Good on you. Had you made a spring roll before?
I hadn't. First ever
What is
spring
a spring
roll.
rolls? Like onions and pastry?
Yeah,
and
like bean sprouts and stuff. And then you make the mix and then just fill. But it's all in the rolling technique.
Right, okay.
And that's something that can't be taught, Cammy. You've got 30 years.
You've just got a natural rolling. Would that come from your years behind the bike sheds at school, or? Oh no, you were Wellington. Sorry. Yeah, of course you didn't smoke roll ups. You smoked the proper Mayfair, didn't you? Benson Hedges.
Aye.
Oh yes, of course. Oh, not the what is it? Golden Virginia. Oh, Golden Virginia. That was for the.
I've never even heard of it.
Exactly. That's to your credit. It's okay. So you're great at a roll up. Absolutely great to hear. Nothing else is that I've got to ask because some people will wonder,
Okay.
and we're going to get in. We're going to explain why I'm wearing this hat for anyone watching on the YouTube. I'm wearing a blue
Bonnet?
tammy. Let's just call it that just now. Blue bonnet. That's exactly what it is. My good blue bonnet. And in Thailand, people are going to ask, okay, did you see any ladies that might not have been ladies?
Right, so I find that a tricky question and I'll tell you for why.
Yes.
My gut is to say no, but I think it's just because they are so good
That's so good, yeah.
at being ladies. I was told, look for the Adam's apple. That's the giveaway.
Okay.
But I didn't get close enough to really look at the throat.
Yeah, plus I think you can get them shaved down now a bit.
Oh, God, really?
Why are you doing that as if you've got an Adam's apple and you know how it feels? You're like, oh, God, no. The Adam apple. You know, wait till you've been punching the Adam apple. That's
But surely girls do have what is an Adam's apple?
an Adam's apple
Go
is
on.
that is a good. I think it makes your voice deeper.
But what is it?
Is it just this big thing?
No. Like, I know, but
I've got a huge one, by the way. Like if I get a punch in the throat,
God, you do?
I know it's massive.
It's quite, like, pointy.
I think the bigger you, I think it's one of those like things like the silverback gorilla. You know, like the bigger your Adam's apple. That's why, like, if you're squaring off with somebody, you want to stand tall so that they can see, oh, wow, he's a big Adam's apple. I don't want to fight with him.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things in the jungle.
Okay.
In the jungle, not so much nowadays. People don't give as much note to it as they used to. But yeah, I think the bigger the Adam's apple, the bigger the man.
Right, okay.
So they used to say. But yeah, so mine's is huge. I think it's something to do with your voice box, which is ironic because I've quite a high pitched voice.
Yeah, I suppose you do. You don't have a deep voice.
No, not a deep voice at all. So it's quite high pitched and whiny. So I'm not actually. We will find out what an Adam's. Actually, you couldn't possibly find out what an Adam's apple does for you, could you? What's the guy in Joe Rogan, Jamie?
I know.
Jamie, could you find out?
And I would also like a follow up. Do girls have them as well?
Right, okay. I'm going to say no, unless you're in Thailand. Yeah, so, okay, so you didn't see any boys that are ladies?
Well, no, that's a lie. I did see some.
Oh, you did?
I did see
and you
some.
knew because?
It was just more obvious. And they did happen to be outside a drag show area. So.
Okay, so yeah, it was very obvious. Did they have a price list or anything with them? Or?
No.
No, nothing like that. Wasn't that obvious?
Not
okay,
that obvious.
It's interesting to me. I've never been, although I have friends that have been, and they've told me about some of the things that go in there, and it seems like quite a place. But you're there more for not that culture. You were there for other culture.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that definitely wasn't the draw for me.
No. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. Did you see any elephants?
I did see some elephants.
Yeah. Did you like touch them and stuff? I don't know.
Yeah,
What did they
touched
do?
them, fed them. I don't know. I've got mixed reviews about elephants. I mean, I feel like, well, the one we went to see, like, I hate zoos. I hate seeing
Me too.
animals in zoos, and that kind of felt the same. Like, but anyway, these apparently at sanctuaries. So there was like 5 elephants. They all had a wee story. Like one had been in the circus, and then now they've taken them to this place where they do basically live free. They can go wherever they want. But big, really big.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've ever seen an elephant. I'm thinking maybe Edinburgh Zoo or maybe Blair Drummond has an
But don't
elephant.
you think it's mad that zoos are still a thing?
Oh, crazy! But it must be a dying thing now. Do you know what I think really destroyed it for me? And I've never been to anything like that since. Actually, I've never been to anything like that since I was a wee boy. So, and even then, I think the only place I've been is Blair Drummond, which is in Scotland, of course, and Edinburgh Zoo, which is the most famous one in Scotland. Maybe the only zoo in Scotland.
Bold.
I actually think I think both are. Blair Drummond will be the only safari park, and Edinburgh Zoo will be the only zoo that I know of. Anyway, Blackfish on Netflix.
Oh, never watched it. What is it?
Watch it, Iona.
Really?
Oh, it is mind blowing.
What about? What's that about?
It's about Deep Sea World. Oh, it's maybe not called. It's called Sea World, I think.
Right.
And basically, they keep these orcas in just like wee tiny tanks.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like a story of these orcas, and it's like it talks about how their fins are all folded over, and how that never happens in the wild. It's just because they're like kept in captivity, and they fight with each other, and the whole story of how like corrupt and dodgy SeaWorld is. Like they buy this whale that's previously killed someone, and then they've got trainers like in the water with it, and then this lassie dies because it basically in front of a whole crowd of people just starts dragging her to the bottom. And it's terrifying footage, like terrifying. But it's not even like these whales are super. Like that is folk ask me the animal I'm most scared of. It's orcas.
Why constantly watching that?
Oh, but you watch any footage of them hunting or that, they're far too clever. Like they're far too clever. Like you ever seen when the seals are on the ice and they're like bringing the water towards it to wash it off?
No.
Oh, they're incredible. So yeah, that just the whole captivity of it.
Oh,
and
I
just,
hate it.
Like for people to come and pay money and bay at them and all that. I'm like,
Yeah, it's horrible.
Another thing we better touch on.
Yes.
We're going to go on forever here is we have new sponsors.
Exciting.
For the podcast. It's very exciting. And the big reveal is it's Crystalix and Animax. So they are joint sponsor on the podcast for the full year. So that's us. We're sorted
We're
now.
locked in.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's messaged and emailed about sponsoring. We really do appreciate it. But that's us now locked in with Crystalix and Animax for the year. We're going to hear a lot more about them in every episode. And I mean, some people might not like adverts and things like that, but this is all expensive. You know, there's wages to pay, there's time spent editing. These microphones were 400 quid each. It all takes money and time, and you know, it needs to pay. And the only way to make a podcast pay is by sponsorship. So thanks very much to Crystalix and Animax for coming on board. I've of course worked with Crystalix for years, so it was great. Graham, who's the marketing man for Crystalix, is a local guy. He stays in Ayr, 15 minutes away.
Got your foot down.
What's that?
Foot down to get there in 15 minutes.
Well, from here, a bit longer. But, you know, I've known him, I've had a working relationship with him now for 4 or 5 years through the sheep game. And when he reached out and said he wanted to come on board, I was like, perfect. And their adverts are so slick that, you know, they're actually enjoyable to listen to. So thanks to them for coming on board. And I think it's a good time to hear and see some of those adverts now.
Let's do it.
Crystalix Extra High Energy feed blocks have been providing high energy supplementation to ewes, lambs and rams in the UK since 1978. Packed full of protein, vitamins, minerals and trace elements, Crystalix Extra High Energy has been proven to increase live lamb numbers and improve lamb daily live weight gain at a cost of only 4 to 7 pence per ewe per day. To view the full Crystalix range and find your nearest stockist, visit crystalix-global.com.
On to my bunnet.
Yes.
My Gid Blue bunnet. Will we do any farming today? We might do a bit of farming. On to my Gid Blue bunnet. It's, of course, the 25th of January, which is, Iona?
Rabbie Burns Day.
Yeah, it's Rabbie Burns Day today. We should have had a haggis here.
Oh, we should have.
Yeah, no. We're just, Iona's first day back. We're not quite, we should have had a big steaming haggis here. And we could have ate away at it.
Do you do Burns supper?
Will we have, do you mean we'll have haggis tonight?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Will you?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We're filming this on the Tuesday to go out on the Thursday. As this is out, I will be on the Isle of Arran scanning sheep if the weather improves. And I've already arranged with the farmer I'm staying with that we're going to have haggis. Well, we were already having haggis. It was a given. I didn't need to arrange it. I was just making sure. So yeah, we'll have haggis. Haggis is a poor person's food. That's why it's so famous in Scotland. Made from like sheep's stomach traditionally was the outer part of it, and then it's just all the stuff swept off the floor, some oatmeal and all sorts of things made into this delicious. It's all about the spices and salt, a lot of salt, Very delicious. And Robert Burns, I think we've maybe mentioned this in the podcast before, but he is the third most statued figure in the world, non-religious figure in the world, after Queen Victoria. And who's the other one? Who's next?
Can't remember.
You'd never get it. Christopher Columbus. So it's...
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant because you'd mentioned it in another one. No, I didn't know that.
Right, so Queen Victoria is the most statued non-religious figure. Second is Christopher Columbus. And third is Robert Burns.
Wow, that's big.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So, you know, he wrote Auld Lang Syne, which many of us sing at New Year, and most people would be familiar with that song. I think even down south in England and the rest of the UK, you would be aware of Auld Lang Syne. It does. I mean, I absolutely love him. He's an absolute genius. And the reason I'm wearing this bonnet is because Tam O'Shanter wears a bonnet like this, which is the best thing Robert Burns ever wrote, in my opinion. Although, and I just want to touch on this, because it is Burns Day, I feel like I can touch on a bit of Burns. Usually people are like, Cammy, shut up, I'm sick of listening to it, because I just love it. But there's a couple of ones I want to point out to you that you may never have thought of before, but you might have heard them. And the first one's the address to the haggis. And it's to a lot of folk, it's just like a gimmicky kind of thing that you do over the haggis, just like a bit of fun thing that Robert, and it is fun, but there's an absolute genius in it, where in the second to last and the third to last verse, he starts off by talking about the devil eating it, and he mentions the devil throughout it, and through a lot of his poems he's always mentioned the devil as the devil, and he refers to the devil that doesn't eat haggis, and he says, I maybe do it in English, he says, poor devil, see him over his trash, as feckless as a withered rash, his spindle shank, a wee whiplash, his knee a knit. And basically saying that he doesn't eat haggis, so he's all weak and pathetic.
Right, okay.
So he does that verse, and then it goes, but mark the rustic haggis fed. And it's like the trembling earth resounds his tread. And it's like he's big and powerful because he eats haggis. That's one of his, like, it's absolute genius. If you actually look into what it all means, it's just bloody genius. And we're going to go off to Robert Burns very quickly. Tam O'Shanter is obviously my favourite. We won't go into that here because it's 10 minutes long, and I have done a post for Facebook about that if you want to see it.
When did you learn that?
Tam O'Shanter?
Yeah.
Oh, I just did it for like a little challenge one time.
How did you learn it? Like just reading it over and over?
Yeah, just a verse at a time. Yeah, verse at a time, get it nailed.
Okay.
Move to the next one, get it nailed, go back, start from the top, do the two
and just
together.
And are you reading all the time?
No, well, you read it till you think you've got it.
Yeah.
It's hard. The big thing is you have to understand it.
Yeah.
So it's important.
Because then it becomes like a story
Absolutely.
rather than... Yeah,
so folk ask how I can remember it, and all I'm doing is being Tam O'Shanter.
Through the story?
Through the story. So at first I'm in the pub, getting drunk with Suitor Johnny, and then I'm stumbling out into the rain and the wind, and I'm getting on Maggie, my horse, and we're heading through the woods, and then I imagine going through the woods, holding fast my good blue bonnet, and the rain, and then you see the kirk up ahead, and like you're just picturing yourself going through it the whole time. Like I've images in my head, and that's how you remember it. But yeah, so Tam O'Shanter, absolute genius. There's 20 verses. It's a difficult one to learn as well because it doesn't like rhyme. Like a lot of poems have a flow, and Tam O'Shanter's kind of all over the place. It's more of a story than a poem, as such. But and not all poems need to rhyme. I understand that. But the one I love, like, and I think more people should be aware of, and I'd argue it's his best line he ever wrote, is To a Louse. Now, a lot of folk know To a Mouse. I don't really like it that much. It's good. It's good.
Do you just not like it because everybody likes it?
Maybe a bit of that.
Yeah.
And because I think To a Louse is so much better.
Why?
Because To a Louse is important. You know, it's talked about, man's dominion and all that over nature. But To a Louse is poking fun at basically people that think they're better than others.
Right, okay.
And it's absolutely... So the whole premise of To a Louse, the actual full title of the poem is To a Louse upon seeing one on a lady's bonnet at church. That's actually the full title of the poem. And the whole premise of it is... And Robbie Burns used to get into trouble a lot. He was a big womanizer. He'd quite often have to go and sit... I think they used to have like a dunce's chair, it was like your punishment to God. You had to sit in front of the congregation and be the bad guy. And he used to have quite often do that. And these folk would look down their nose at him. So he wrote this from the viewpoint of he's sitting in the kirk looking at a posh lady. And she thinks she's all posh and better than everyone. But she's still got lice.
Okay.
So To a Louse, so he's seeing the lice in her hair, sitting behind her in kirk. And he plays on that. And there's things in it like... you know, he's like chastising the lice for how dare he set. There's like, how dare you set your foot upon say fine a lady. You know, it's like, how dare you put your foot on this fine lady? You know, like, but Mrs. Fine Lenardi, how dare you do it? And like, Lenardi was a fancy type of bonnet back in the day.
Right.
So it's all about like, how dare you do this to this woman? She's far too good to have lice. And there's a line in it that is by far, in my opinion, the best one that he ever wrote was, and it goes just right at the end. It goes, "Oh, would some power the gifty gears to see ourselves as others see us? It would for many a blunder free us in foolish notion." And I don't know if you like. Basically, that means, oh, would some power the gifty gears? So talking about God there, really. Oh, what a power! If God gave us the power to see ourselves as other folk see us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You'd realise how wrong you are and how snooty you are, and you know that's him having a dig at her.
Yeah.
Like, what a power if you could see yourself the
But
way you are.
then-
Imagine writing that. That was a 30. This is a 30-year-old guy. I think he was about 32 when he wrote that.
That's mad.
Back in 17 or 16,
Yeah.
90 or whatever. Like around
And
that
have
time.
that insight and like awareness.
A working class guy from
Yeah.
Mauchline in Ayrshire writing
Yeah.
something like that.
I know, that's
Or
mad.
would some power the gifty gears?
But then don't you think it would be like seeing ourselves as other people do see us? Imagine being able to do that.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Thankfully, I've got the YouTube comments for that. So I know immediately what folk think of me. It's great. They love you, though. They love you. And that actually brings on to our next point that we need to cover on this podcast. And we're going to talk a bit more about Thailand because we haven't actually got questions for this one, if you're wondering. Do send them in, though. podcast@fedbyfarmers.co.uk. podcast@fedbyfarmers.co.uk. Send your questions in to Iona or I. We are going to start doing a little phone-in thing.
Yeah.
At some point, we'll have people phone in live and speak to them. That's coming very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that.
Most foragers don't supply sheep and cattle with enough cobalt, copper, iodine and selenium, critical to digestion, immunity, reproduction and growth. When it comes to supplementation, there's a danger of under or oversupply. But when bolusing with Animax Tresure, you can be sure every animal has enough for up to 6 months in one single application. Featuring patented diffusion technology, Animax Tresure offers a consistent release of trace elements from day one. It also stays the same size and density over time, minimizing the risk of premature regurgitation or passing. Backed by decades of science, research and engineering, it takes just a minute or so to bolus each animal. It's easy, it's precise, it's effective. If it's what you need, visit animax-vet.com.
I was going to say, yes, the YouTube comments have got in trouble recently.
What's happened?
A couple of things. I've got into trouble from someone, from a friend, for slagging off Cheviets too much.
Okay.
Now, that's partly your dad's fault, I think, for mentioning the fact that they had Cheviets and they weren't tough enough for Muirkirk, so they went back to Blackies. Just stating facts. Like, different countryside, there's different sheep. And I would like to point out to folk that I have almost 400 Cheviets and no Blackies. So, and I've had Blackies and decided I prefer Cheviets. So they can't be that bad. That's my defence to that. It's like, we just say, like, it's all opinion and stuff on here.
Yeah.
And that moves me on to my next complaint I got. I got into real trouble for mentioning that I thought there would be a united Ireland before an independent Scotland.
Did you?
Someone wasn't happy.
Why? What were they not happy about?
Speaking about things that I know nothing about. But really, if I couldn't speak about things I know nothing about, I'd have nothing to talk about.
The podcast, should we just end it? Finally.
If I can only speak about things I know about, then like, what are we going to talk about? So yeah. Then it was a fair cut. Well, it wasn't. I always say though, and I take it on board. You know, I mean, all I said, for anyone who hasn't heard it, was you asked me about an independent Scotland, and I said that I just don't think it will ever happen, because I just think England would punish us too much, was the thing. And I just on a whim said I actually think there's more chance of a united Ireland than independent Scotland, and that's what upset them. And that's fair enough if everyone's views are different. But like, there was no offence. I always think, see, if there's no offence, offered, that there should be none taken.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if something's said in a way that clearly isn't meant to offend, you shouldn't get offended. Whereas, you know, if I say something to you that you shouldn't be offended by, like, I can't think of an example of what a guy would say to a woman that would maybe offend her, but if it's said in a nice, innocent way that you didn't mean to offend, you shouldn't take offence.
Yeah.
Whereas if I say something like this and I'm nasty is clearly nasty, then that's fair enough.
Oh, I don't know. I know what you're saying.
If someone doesn't mean to offend, you shouldn't get offended.
But I think those are two separate things. I think like saying something personally to somebody is totally different to just having an opinion. So you saying you see a united Ireland before an independent Scotland, that you're not aiming that at anybody, that's just an opinion. Whereas if you say something directed at somebody,
and I accept that I know nothing about that really.
Yeah.
I just heard it on Rest's Politics that they thought that, and I actually agreed with them. So, and they, in fairness, they know a lot about it. So
yeah,
they said that, and that's where I heard it. So Rory Stewart and Alistair Campbell think that. Then I'll be honest, I'm quite like ruthless with the whole being offended thing.
Are you?
I think it is really weak character if you get offended by things.
Right. I'm going to challenge that.
Go on.
Have
I offended you?
You would get offended by people not saying not nice things to you.
Like what? Give me an example.
Anything at all.
Can I just point out the fact I worked in the police for 12 years? So,
but they're not people yet. Do you care? Do you know what quote I like is that you shouldn't care about the. Okay, I'm going to butcher this, but you shouldn't care about the opinions of people who you wouldn't seek advice from.
Yeah.
Which I like, but if it was people who you care about, if people said something not nice to you, you would be offended. Or even strangers.
But I can bring that argument right round. Is that the kind of people that would say not things to offend me, I wouldn't seek advice from.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a very tight circle, like as you know, like there is maybe 5 people that I would seek advice from or like really lean into for help with things, and none of them would. They would all slag me off rotten and say nasty things.
That's different.
And I've made the point, I got a row as well for me. I'm not going to make the joke anymore. I have made it too many times about you being an accent. I'm not going to say that anymore, but I got a row for that again. But Scottish humour is very different.
It is.
Like Scottish humour is brutal. Like,
oh yeah.
Like if you were to hear the things that my farmer friends and the shearers say to each other, like you would think they hated each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just bullying all the time, but it's not.
No, it's not.
It's just how it is.
But if you were getting so many, right, so people that you don't know online saying not nice things to you, comment on things, saying not nice things, you would be fine with that.
But I'm not offended. I'm just upset.
Right, okay.
Like, I'm not like, how dare you say that? I'm like, oh, that's nice.
That's made me feel sad.
Aye. I'm not like, how dare you say that? You shouldn't be saying that.
But okay, no, but now you're just seeing how you react to being offended.
Mm-hmm. That's how people react when they're offended. You can't say that. What, did you like that? It's so funny. I think that was funny.
I think it was a shoulder.
Oh, I did really good at drama at school. Yeah. It's just everybody relax a bit.
Yeah, for just
like you're going to say about strangers saying things. See, in the police, folk used to say things about your mum and that all the time.
Mm.
And like, see if it's not somebody you respect or as part of your thing.
Yeah.
Why would you care what they say?
I know.
You know what I mean? Just enjoy your life.
Quite a lot of people, though, I feel like enjoy being unhappy, though.
Oh, absolutely. No, you have hit the... folk want to be offended.
So it gives them the kick.
Absolutely.
Like they're waiting.
It's like the people that are against farming. Like, they still want to watch all the farming videos.
Yeah.
So that they can get raging. But I don't feel I need to comment on it or go, no interest. Next.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it.
No, I enjoyed that.
But listen, I want to know a bit more about Thailand. Listen, that's me covered the rows I've had.
Yep.
Thankfully, nothing came of the religious comments I made, which is good.
Still time.
Yeah, there's still time, yeah. And I think, we've covered the Tammy I'm wearing and Robert Burns, that's done.
Mm-hmm.
A bit more about Thailand, though. Like, you were there for a month and all you did was make spring rolls.
The best.
Yeah, the best. Roll. You won an award for spring rolls. Yeah.
Do you know, isn't it hard though when somebody asks? Like, obviously, I went away. I had the best time.
You always say this. It's like you can't think. You knew you were coming to do a podcast, and you couldn't think. What's a couple of highlights from my holiday?
Right. Okay. Well, maybe. Okay. Right. Okay. Fair play to you.
What about the mushrooms? Did you do any mushrooms?
I ate mushrooms, but not like ones that make you feel funny.
Okay, it's just mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How were they? Wee bit of butter on them. Or were they stuffed with feta? What kind of mushrooms were they?
They're not into feta over there.
Is that
just
right?
chopped up.
Did
in
they have
the
much
curry.
dairy?
So no. And I actually looked into this. So basically they don't eat a lot of bread. So
Okay.
for me, bread followed by with your butter. Not a lot of butter.
Well, why do you want to eat bread if you don't have butter?
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Milk, like the go-to, like if you were ordering a like Thai iced tea or something, the milk in it is definitely not cow's milk. Like
Okay.
it's coconutty or almond. I actually took a photo of one of the boards that had all the different milks, and none of it was dairy, and that wasn't in like a vegan cafe or anything.
Okay.
I would say biggest farms wise is cannabis farms.
Cannabis farms?
Yeah.
Is cannabis legal there?
Yep. And
Oh,
it's
so so you were the rolling champ, right? Okay, that's good. Did you... No, we better not say on here if you did try or anything like that. I'm sure you didn't.
I didn't.
No, I didn't think you would actually. Why would you? I wouldn't either. But it's interesting that it's legal there.
Yep.
Is that a big draw for a lot of tourists? I take there's a lot of folk lighting up.
Yeah, so basically I think with Thailand, it's funny because Rachel and I, that was away with, we had the discussion about what would happen if cannabis was legal in the UK. Like, could it be a good thing or could it be a bad thing? And I think...
We're turning into Joe Rogan here.
It's
aren't we?
just, I don't...
When you go, let's talk about cannabis. It should be legal. Should it? Or go, do you think it should be legal or not? What are you going to say here?
Do you know, I know it, but, and it's a weak answer because I came away with such mixed feelings about it, because I feel like over there it's a different lifestyle. You're not getting... I don't really know what I'm trying to say. Hold on.
You think it's okay to be high all the time over there? Because there's less work to do?
No, do you know what I think? It's like people don't take things to extreme. I think in the UK we're quite good at extremes. So with like drugs, alcohol, we're like, we go hard.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if we could be sort of like more relaxed about it and like... Whereas like over there, it's like people aren't like rolling about drunk, or it's all the tourists doing that. People actually live there. It's not... Is that just a culture thing?
Oh, potentially, but then you're only seeing that touristy part of it. You don't know what the man on the street's doing.
No, true.
Do you know what I mean? Like people in Dublin probably don't drink in Temple Bar
Yes.
because it's so expensive
Mm-hmm.
and so touristy. They probably go other places, so the tourists don't see it. It's probably the same in Thailand and Phuket and that. They probably have their own workers' bars. Cannabis will be legal eventually.
Do you think?
Aye, why not just tax it?
I know.
See, when I
well,
worked in the
that's-
police,
yeah.
I hated finding a bit of cannabis because I was just I just felt this is so pointless. I
It's a
then have
waste
to
of time, money.
what a waste
I
of
know.
time. I then need to go and test
I
the bloody
know.
thing to make sure it is cannabis.
Yeah.
Fill out a heap of bloody paperwork for the guy. Cannabis now, you just get a little recorded warning thing that's gone in 6 months. But
there's-
and then I've got to go and lodge the drugs as a production because, of course, it's so high, it's so open to corruption, drugs and all that. So it's like, yeah, make sure you lodge it and exact
So what
weights
happens to that? Like when you find drugs and stuff, do they all get stored somewhere?
Yeah, until the Christmas party, and
And then it just
yeah,
gets
it's get
brought and then
divvied
just
out.
divvied out, just
Divvy-
equally, or does it depend?
fairly equally depend. Usually the guy that's brought in the most will.
That's what I wondered,
yeah,
if they
first
get a
go, but-
bigger cut.
No, it just gets destroyed allegedly. I don't know. It gets incinerated, I think, or something. Yeah. They just burn it. They just destroy it. Yeah, I would be fairly certain. But no, so yeah, it was such
It's
a
like
waste of our
cannabis
time.
compared to alcohol, though. If you look at
I never went to deal with folk fighting because they were high in cannabis.
yes, yeah,
Most of the police work that we did was alcohol,
yeah,
and even where that's mental health, depression, usually alcohol, a lot of alcohol behind it.
yeah.
It's.
It's a tricky one.
But I think alcohol's not what it was.
Okay, why?
I think young people are choosing health a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think there's a trend to that.
Yeah.
I saw a study that like the consumption of alcohol-free lager and beers and wines and vodka. I mean, God knows why you'd want to drink alcohol-free vodka, but that's all up, like way up.
Really?
Young people are choosing that more,
That's interesting.
and avoiding the hangover. Ah, yeah, like we
yeah.
spoke about drinking before. Like it's good to hear. Maybe not good for the economy because the government makes so much money off alcohol.
Yeah.
That might be the only thing. Same with this, all what they're doing with stopping smokers. I mean, it's like 12 quid for a packet of cigarettes now. The government's making a fortune off them.
But fair play, I back the government on things like that. They might as well be making money. Same with, yeah.
Oh, I hammer it. Oh, absolutely. Hammer the tax on the fags and hammer the tax on the drink.
Yeah. Make cannabis legal. Hammer the tax on it.
Make a fortune.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's another side of farming. So yeah, cannabis farming is the biggest farming in Thailand.
Yeah. I mean,
Did you actually see a cannabis farm?
Don't quote me on it. No.
Okay, you just know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, going by it was hilarious. So we were in this one place and I saw on the map, because I was determined to see a farm, and I just saw that I could like seem like I was actually into farming, do you know what I mean? And I saw this one and it was like the name, and then it was an organic farm.
Okay.
And then I was like to Rachel, right, this is ideal. And it was a weed farm.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
But then I've got to go where the money is.
Yeah, 100%. And
I thought they'd do, maybe they don't do a lot of coffee over there.
Oh, that was another. We actually we went to this big national park, and it was all coffee tree. Do you know coffee beans are grown on trees?
Yeah, I actually watched a BBC documentary the other night. The guy was in South America. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name. He's touring South America, and they come off green, and they have to be roasted.
And the skin.
White. No.
Well, the ones I saw were red, and they took the skin off, and then they made Thai tea out of that.
Right. Okay.
And then the beans got roasted.
Yeah, but is it the same beans for that makes cocaine?
Oh, I didn't know cocaine.
No. It's coffee. Is it the same bean for coffee as it is for chocolate? No. One's cocoa.
Ashley's shaking her head.
It's not. Different beans.
Do you want to look back to the Adam's apple quickly?
Yeah. What was
Have
it?
we got answers?
Both men and women have Adam's apples. Men's are bigger. It's to protect your neck and it makes your voice deeper.
How does it protect your neck?
It's like a sort of layer on your larynx. So it's like a cartilage or something.
So why do men need more protection than women?
Probably because historically
Fighting.
they've been attacked more in the neck.
Yeah, fighting.
Punch to the throat.
Punch to the throat. Maybe hangings. Maybe I'd be like unhangable. Because the rope would catch him Adam's apple, and I'd just be like, God, boys, this is tight. But not what you do. This is just for anyone if you're ever in this situation where, like, you know, Lord of the Rings, or I'm trying to think of a film where they hang somebody. Well, William Wallace. Although Mel Gibson has a beast of an Adam's apple, but he obviously wasn't William Wallace. He's just the actor that played him, in case you didn't know. And what you should always do is, like, I always see like with folk that are getting strangled and all that, like, and they're caught, they're always like fighting and struggling until they stop, and they're dead. What I would do is just like stop early.
Pretend.
Aye.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, so like.
Yeah, fake dead.
Aye,
Play
like
dead.
if it's not properly hanging you think I might get away with this, just be like,
Yeah.
are they gone yet? Are they gone yet? You know, just because if
Yeah.
you just keep, they'll just stand there enjoying the struggle.
Did
whereas
you
they
ever
just-
get attacked in the police?
Oh, aye, loads of times.
Did you?
Yeah,
What did you do?
just fight back.
Did you?
That was great.
Cammy, no, you didn't.
Yeah. A lassie tried to stab me one time. Yeah, it was a scary one. Yeah, that was very lucky actually, because she was a victim. Believe it or not. Yeah, I'll tell the story. So she'd be getting stalked quite badly actually, and we'd arrested and charged the partner, ex-partner I should say, and the courts had let him out with just these bail conditions not to go near her, which is a waste of time for these crazy guys. Absolute waste of time. It was ridiculous actually, because we'd tried hard to get him remanded. But anyway, I phoned her and says, this is what's happened, to update her and let her know. And she says something to the effect of, it doesn't matter, I won't. She was obviously upset about it when I told her, and she says, do you know what, it doesn't matter. I won't be here. Basically intimating she was going to kill herself.
Right, okay.
So of course at that, we had to jump in the car, blue lights up to the house, and get to the door, and she opened the door. I'll never forget this actually. She opened the door and she was standing there. Do you ever seen like The Grudge or The Ring?
No.
Where it's like dark hair over the face.
Oh, no.
Honestly. And she opened this door and she was standing there, like actual head bowed, dark hair like over her face, like just an eye. I'm not kidding you. So straight away my heckles were up a bit, but I knew she was struggling and you know, maybe.
So at this point, had you knocked the door and said who you were?
Yeah, knocked it. Well, she actually asked.
Right, okay.
I said, let's say her name's Jane Smith.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jane, how are you? Listen, I'm a bit worried about your comments there. Can we come in and speak to you? And she goes, are you PC Wilson? And I was like, yeah, but I wasn't worried.
Yeah, at that point you were just...
I says, yes, I am. And I says, okay, if we could just come in and speak to you, a bit concerned about what you said there on the phone. And she's like, come in. And like, as I went in, she stood, and this is a lesson for anyone, that you should always make the householder, and I learned this lesson from this, you should always make the householder walk in front of you into the house. But anyway, I go to walk past her. Here, she's got her hand on the kitchen knife in her pocket. Big kitchen knife. and she pulls it out and goes, and I honestly remember it so vivid. And thankfully, I managed to jam her arm against the wall.
So do you just see it out the corner
So
of
it's
your
like here,
eye?
it's like down.
Pointing towards.
So I've like got her upper arm, and then I get down and grab her forearm, and then I put my forearm into her throat,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to like choke her out. But my mate who's with me, who thinks we're just coming to see it, he hasn't seen the knife. So he's like, excuse my language, he's like, fucking hell, what are you doing? Like he just thinks I've just started choking this. Like I've just went, he's like, what? Like and I'm like, she's got, my blood's up Sam, so I'm like, she's got a knife here. And he's like, oh Christ, so he grabs it. So next thing, and then we basically just pressed in her throat until she dropped it. And then she got arrested and all that. But she's kicked and fought the whole time. And yeah, she's
God,
just
Cammy.
I can't, very lucky. Yeah, that was a crazy one. That was very lucky.
See, my mind would just go wild. Like, why did she want to stab me?
I think she was probably thinking she would kill herself anyway, or she's probably thinking
Revenge because...
either she was blaming me,
That's what I mean, yeah.
Yeah, maybe partly that, because she specifically asked if I was PC Wilson, and part of it might have been the fact that she thought, well, I'll get arrested and I'll be safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they won't keep him in, this will get me kept in and I'll be safe. Because it was a bad one, like, and it was shocking that the guy was let out. But anyway, when I wrote the case, I was very, very nice in the case, and I made clear the point that we played it all down and made clear the point that this had happened and it was really the court's fault that she felt this way, and she got off with it, which is fine. Like I was happy with that, because it was like the last season.
Yeah, she's having a terrible time.
Yeah, and I don't hold a grudge, and like, you know, she was having a, so yeah, that was the closest one. Yeah, punched in the head loads of times, and
do you learn self-defense?
kicked in the face once, an absolute belter.
You can still see.
Yeah, I never used to look like this. My teeth used to be straight. This wee bam like jumped off a wall and like volleyed me right in the face like an absolute belter, man. Yeah, I had stars in my eyes at that point. We did get him right enough.
Did you have to do any chases?
Yeah, loads.
Did you?
Loads. Yeah, never lost a chase. That's a lie, actually. Did lose one. But in my defence, it wasn't my chase. I turned up quite late, and the guy
Mid-chase?
the guy was already well away.
Okay.
At that point. It was funny. It was when he was on top of a carpet factory roof. I think they were trying to break into and this was at like 6 a.m. in Maryhill, and the call comes in, guy in the roof, housebreaking. The alarm had went off, or however we got alerted to it. So obviously we're all blue lighting up there, because like, this is exciting. We're going to get this housebreaker in the act, which is quite rare. Usually police, it's just someone's broke in.
Yeah.
So let's get this guy. And my mate's on the radio. Don't worry, he's on the roof. He can't get down. No panic. Okay. He's off and running. That's it. And he's on the railway track. But the problem with the railway is like high fence. That part of Maryhill, it's like high fence all the way.
Okay.
So we couldn't really run the car round to get ahead of him. So you just had to jump on the track and start running to catch up. And technically, we get into trouble because we're not meant to go on the tracks.
Of course.
You're not meant. And if we chase him and then he gets hit by a train.
Oh, okay. He was running from the police.
And it was dangerous. Absolutely was. But when your blood's up, your blood's up.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, I see the guy. All right, he was way ahead. But anyway, I just started chasing, end up catching up the two cops that were way ahead of me, closing them down. I'll never forget it. I was still maybe about 20 metres away, to be fair. But we're closing him down, and he looks back and he realises he's running out of steam and I'm coming for him. And he had his trainers and all that, and he's obviously a good climber because he'd get down for that roof when apparently he couldn't. And he just, big, whatever height the fence was, just up at like Spider-Man over the other side. I actually thought he broke his leg because he just threw himself over the other side. God. And I thought, this guy's not getting up. And he just sort of got up and kind of limped away. And I was like, well, I had all my body armour and my boots on. It's like, I can't do this. So yeah, that guy did get away. But I still say it wasn't my chase.
Yeah, fair.
I should write some wee stories about this. I always think if I ever write a book.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Think you ever will write a book?
Maybe one. I see some of the other folk that write books. I've talked about this. I was like, I may as well, at some point.
I think that with everything though. There's so like music.
But I find people's stories interesting. Like probably the reason people listen to this podcast is just like see people just telling stories and about their life. Like I definitely like. Well, I like a bit of fiction as well, but I like autobiographies too. Like, in fact, it doesn't even need to be an autobiography. Biographies.
Just learning about people's lives.
Yeah, just folk stories and how they got to be where they ended up and how they face hardships.
Then don't you feel like we're moving away so much from like having conversations? like from what things maybe used to be.
Certainly know us.
Because there's, but we do, because the only time we speak is when we're recording a podcast, really.
Oh,
Sorry,
do you think that's,
no,
I don't know if we. I think we.
No, okay, that's a bad example.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, like, because now there's so much,
So many times we speak and we're like, oh, stop, keep this for the podcast.
Yeah, that's
You know?
true.
But sorry, on you go. Yeah.
Like because there's now so many other things to do and other distractions that we don't speak as much as maybe what they used to do.
Yeah, maybe. The workplace will be the big factor though, because I think it
'cause
depends
you're
your
working
job.
But then I even think so. My dad, I think even just getting him in for the podcast, I was hearing things for the first time, and I think I speak to my dad all the time.
I know, but it's different. When you have,
Maybe
a, when
it's
you have
the
a random
environment.
person asking the questions that you wouldn't ask.
Yeah, okay.
Like that's
a bad
different. In dads and
example.
daughters, you're going to have a set routine of the things you talk about.
Yeah,
you're not
that's true.
You don't get too deep. Whereas, like in terms of the conversation, like for example, when I was in the police and it was just the two of you in the car all the time, you pretty much got to know everything about their life.
Yeah. So did you get like partnered up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like, you'd be spending 10-hour shift with the same person.
Yeah, so you would know literally.
You know their wife's name, you know their kid's
everything.
name, you know what's...
I would assume you know more than that. I know your wife and kid's names.
Oh, I know, but yeah, but that's but when you imagine when you work with 20 different people,
Yeah.
it's a lot to know their wife's name. Like when you've never met their wife
Yeah.
or whatever, it's a lot to know all the names and you know how's Sandra the day and you hear about their stories about their kids at school and the problems they have and
Yeah.
it's like a therapy almost
Yeah.
sitting in the car
Yeah.
because the person you work with, whilst they're kind of a friend, they're not that close.
It's perfect.
They don't know any of your family and friends.
No.
So they won't
You can
tell.
you can basically, because they've got nobody that'll care
Yeah,
to tell.
exactly.
So, yeah.
So it's like a bit of therapy, you know. So
Yeah.
it was good that way in the car. I mean, I was always quite young in the police. I never really had anything to talk about, you know, no kids or anything while I was in the police. And yeah, just nobody was that interested in sheep. So generally I just sat and listened and asked questions. Don't get me wrong, you did work with some people who were like,
Oh,
no, that's the guy again.
yeah.
There's people you hated working with, like,
Yeah.
just because the chat was terrible. But yeah, no, that was kind of a big thing with
Mhm.
police. So I think there is still an element, but then it's almost because you've been forced to chat.
Yeah. You've got
You
no
know.
other, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, yeah. But no, not being sexist, but women must chat a bit more. Like, do you not, if you're out with your pals, do you not like...
Right. Again, flip it back. If you're out with your pals, not that you do.
I don't really go out with pals.
No, I
but-
know, but if you were, you would speak to them.
Oh, but not about anything important. You'd slag them off for something. Have a beer. You would never talk about anything. I don't even know what you talk about to guys, actually.
But you would
You talk
phone
about absolute nonsense.
You would phone your friends though, and you would talk about what's going on.
Not in my personal life, no.
Would you not?
No, never.
Would you speak to nobody about what's going on in your personal life?
Well, just Lizzie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's nobody else I
And
would...
your friends, yeah.
No, not even my
Yeah,
friends.
probably females are more likely to share things.
Yeah, bound to, must do.
Yeah.
Guys would never. And it's part of the problem with guys.
Yeah.
And mental health and all that, you know, and there's no shame in it at all. But like, I know me personally, like, and I always talk about it, you know, with the mental health thing, it's good we always touch on it. I think and it's important to keep talking about it because hopefully these podcasts help a bit with folk out working alone and stuff, and they're getting, they're listening to this and it's getting them having a laugh, which is mainly a priority, although we're going to be a bit more serious here. But I know myself, you know, you'll say people, if you're ever down, give me a phone. I'm always at the end of the phone.
Yes.
But I know myself, if I was down and struggling, I would never phone anyone. Let anyone I know.
Would you not?
No, that's where, like, I think, like, the RSABI phone line and RABI, I believe, is the same if you're down south. Like, I'd much rather speak to a random stranger.
Really? That's interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Than phone somebody I know. Because with any luck, it's just a temporary thing.
Absolutely.
If you're lucky, it's just a temporary thing. But if you speak, you know, like for me, I'm just like, your friends all, even when you get over it, I'm always worried your friend would still be like, you all right now, or are you just saying that? You know,
Right,
and it'd be like that.
okay,
Whereas if I
yeah.
just speak to a complete stranger, if halfway through the phone call, actually, do you know what, I shouldn't have
You
done
can
this.
hang up.
Mm-hmm. You know, and that's what I always encourage folk. If you are feeling, phone a stranger.
Yeah.
See if you start the conversation and actually it's no for you, just hang up on them.
Yeah. You got nothing to lose.
Yeah. They're not going to be turning up at your door going, oh, listen, I'm worried you hung up on me there.
Yeah.
If you know, just try it. You might, they're trained to you'll actually probably find it's really good.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'd always encourage people check out, and we'll put the number on the screen actually. I don't know off the top of my head. We'll put it on the screen if you're watching, but Yeah, that's that. So listen, it's good to get one back. It's Burns Day. We've covered a few different topics there. We didn't do any questions and we didn't do much farming related stuff, but that's okay. It doesn't always have to be heavy farming. If people don't like it, please do. Like, we like criticism, as we said. I don't get offended.
Offense.
Yeah. So go in the comments what we shouldn't be talking about, what we should be talking about. And yeah, don't worry about offending, because that won't happen. And we'll try and mould this podcast to please the majority, like the whole of society does.
Okay.
Please the majority, never mind the minority. Like the poor farmers. Anyway.
Oh, good mention. You got that.
Yeah.
Got it.
We are in the minority. That is the unfortunate thing about farmers, but we'll rant about that in another podcast. But yeah, I think that's us for this one. Thanks, as always, to Chryslix and Animax. Very excited to be working with them moving forward. Thanks, Iona, for telling us limited amount about Thailand. I'm sure new other things will pop up as you go. But, you know, it's fascinating to learn about cannabis and spring rolls. Your rolling skills. That's it for this one. I have been Cammy Wilson.
I've been Iona Murray.
Thanks for watching.
Oh no, and we're both.
Oh, we're both fed by farmers. I missed it. Okay. That's it for this one. I've been Cammy.
I've been Iona.
And we are both fed by farmers.
Most foragers don't supply sheep and cattle with enough cobalt, copper, iodine and selenium, critical to digestion, immunity, reproduction and growth. When it comes to supplementation, there's a danger of under or oversupply. But when bolusing with Animax Traysure, you can be sure every animal has enough for up to 6 months in one single application. Animax, giving what it takes.